Item number 2 is the approval of the agenda. Is there any additions or deletions? If not, I'll accept a motion for the agenda. Moved by Patty. Do we have a seconder? Seconded by Gerard. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded, motion carried. Thank you. Item number 3, any declaration of any conflict of interest throughout the meeting, please excuse yourself if there is. Item number 4 is the approval of the minutes of August 9th, regular council, August 9th in camera, August 16th, special council meeting, September 13th, committee of the whole meeting, and September 13th in camera. What is the wishes of council? Go ahead.
I move to for the approval of the minutes of August the 9th, 2017 regular council meeting, August the 9th, 2017 in-camera meeting, August the 16th, 2017 special council meeting, September the 13th, 2017 committee of the whole meeting, and September the 13th, 2017 in-camera meeting.
It's been moved by Councillor LeBlanc. Is there any, do we have a seconder? Been moved by Gerard, seconded by Patty. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded, motion carried. Thank you. Item number 5, warden's remarks. That would be me. Unlike most people, when they have the floor, they enjoy it. Now, on that note, the weather for the last couple of months, as we all realize, has been very good for the public and for our residents of the municipality and for Yarmouth County. It gave a lot of us the opportunity to have barbecues with family and friends, being able to go to the beach. And the reason why I say go to the beach and so on for a walk, or to take your grandchildren or your children in the water and so on, because I want to make mention to a lot of the residents of the municipality. We have a few beautiful beaches. Port Maitland Beach, we have a beach in Pembroke, we have a beach in Sand Beach, and over at Johns Cove, which are really nice areas to visit and just to spend the afternoon or a nice evening walk. So please take the opportunity while we still have all this great weather. Also, the weather has been great for the municipality because we have been able to complete on time and a couple of our projects. One was the sidewalk extension here on the 340. Also the project at our lighthouse over in Overton with the complete renovations of the lighthouse itself, the building, and all the outside work and some inside work was completed on time. They're just going to finish up this month, and which has been good for them. They didn't have very much downtime while they were doing that. I also wanted to mention, as we're all well aware, that it's been Canada's 150th celebration, and I know Councillor Cushion has brought us up to speed on a few things that are happening or will be happening in the municipality, and it has come now to premonition that on October 7th that we'll be having our 150th celebration right here at the municipal office and right down here on the soccer field. We'll be holding from 11 o'clock until 4 o'clock in the afternoon. We have a lot of different organizations coming in here in the foyer to explain their operations and their connections to the municipality of Yarmouth. Also, there's a lot of other activities taking place that day, but one of the biggest things that will be taking place is the municipality of Yarmouth is made up of 7 districts. That's where the 7 councillors come from, and represent each and every one of the residents in our municipality. And we debated long and hard on something special to do. And fireworks are nice, barbecue is nice, but those things all pass away eventually. You forget about them and so on. But the municipality has decided to plant 7 trees in honor of the 7 districts in the municipality, and they will be planted on well, dedicated on October 7th, and we'll be doing that, I believe, down here in by the soccer field. So anybody that wishes to take place, I'm kind of, I haven't asked the Public Works Superintendent, Derek Sutherland. I would like to see 7 shovels down there. I realize the trees will be planted, but if anybody in the municipality wishes to take the opportunity, I'm going to make this request to Derek, and have some soil there that they can take and throw a shovel full of soil and have a picture that they help plant those trees, because in years to come, their grandchildren can probably say that either their grandparents or whatever helped plant those trees, and I think that would be quite a little honor in that respect. There is a lot of different things going on in the municipality. This, gotta stop and think. This Saturday, September 30th, at the Armories on Parade Street, the 84th is putting on an open house, military-wise, and I received the email, and it was addressed to the deputy warden to possibly attend. Well, I knew that deputy warden's going to be away, so I sent off that I will attend that on Saturday. But it's an open house, so if any councillor has the opportunity to drop out, please do so. They're going to put on demonstrations and so on, and I just wanted to let you know that the 84th Battalion out here has won over the years a lot of awards and so on, for they are the artillery, and they go to Gagetown on a regular basis, and they have to do spot shooting and try to get as close as they can to the target. And the 84th here in Yarmouth usually comes away with top honors and so on, and I think that's quite an accomplishment. And the 84th is made up of local people, local cadets or local militia people and so on. So if you have the opportunity on Saturday, please drop out. One thing that I also that is very important is school. As we all realize, school is back in, and we follow the yellow school bus every once in a while, and we meet the yellow school buses every once in a while, and some of us will forget, when the red lights are flashing, please stop. Our children and our grandchildren are very important to us, and they're our future. Keep those kids in mind, please. The last thing that I want to bring up here right now is on September 16th, as we're all well aware, was the Ladies Auxiliary Hospital Hullabaloo held at Mariner Centre. And for those of you that may have been passing by on the 16th, you probably noticed that the parking lot was full. And I just wanted to take this opportunity on behalf of my fellow councillors to say thank you to the residents for supporting the Hullabaloo to the extent that you do, because ladies and gentlemen, every bit of money that they earn, the Ladies Auxiliary puts back into equipment and any necessary apparatus that the hospital may need, whether it's monitors, whether it's bids, whatever. So every dollar that was raised eventually goes right back in to support the hospital, which in the long run helps ourselves and so on. That is my report for September. Ooh. Item number 6, business arising. Recommendations from the September 13th Committee of the Whole meeting. You have that in your package. What is the wishes of council? Got them here. Some of those will have to have motions brought forward.
All right, I'll make the motion on the item pertaining to the cellular internet services that council approve final concurrence with the Wayne Roberts and the Municipality District of Yarmouth proposal for the siting of a self-support telecommunications tower at PID number 9011-9041 in Forest Glen.
Second that.
Been moved by Councillor Trevor Cunningham, seconded by Deputy Warden John Cunningham. Was there any further discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded, motion carried. Thank you. I believe the next one would be item number 4, is it not? The recommendations? Or am I wrong? Number 2. I apologize. Are we all on the same page?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead. Apologize. Go ahead.
I'll make a motion that we forward the financial request of the Yarmouth Hospital Foundation for a whirlpool tub for veterans to the next year's grant discussions.
Yes. Okay. Been moved by Councillor Durkee. Is there any seconder for that?
I second that.
Been moved by Patty. Been seconded by Deputy Warden John. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded, motion carried. Thank you. Item number 3. No. No, I got, mine is mixed up. Both, I have 2 number 3s here, so I'm going to disregard both number 3s and jump to number 4. Are we at the same, Yarmouth and Area Chamber of Commerce? Okay, I'll accept the motion. Go ahead, Councillor.
I'll make a motion to approve a $500 sponsorship for the 12th Annual Chamber of Commerce Business Awards with funding from the grants contingency.
It's been moved by Councillor Durkee, been seconded by Councillor LeBlanc. Is there any further discussion on that motion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded, motion carried. Thank you. Request for grant from Yarmouth County. Number 5. I think that's going to be discussed at a... Okay. Go ahead then, Councillor.
Okay, we had a request from the Yarmouth County Museum and Archives to assist in the cost of repairing their roof and an air conditioning system in the amount, they need $68,000 and the request was $5,000. We have to keep in mind that the Yarmouth County Museum and Archives is extremely important infrastructure to the town and county of Yarmouth. It houses a lot of artifacts, and people come in regularly to study their genealogy. I know I've done that.
Yes.
Certainly. So I'd like to make a motion that we give the Yarmouth County Museum and Archives a grant of $5,000 to be used towards their roofing project.
Okay, been moved by Councillor Durkee, seconded by Councillor LeBlanc. Was there any further discussion on that, Councillor?
Just wanted to concur with Councillor Durkee's comments and just echo what she said in terms of the Yarmouth County Museum being a very, very important part of our infrastructure, especially for ferry visitors and locals alike. Pretty impressive. Traveled around quite a bit of the province and provincially, I think we're well situated in terms of sort of a competitive market to attract tourists, but also, you know, even across Canada. That's a pretty impressive facility, and again, the cost of keeping that facility the way it should be is substantial and definitely supportive of the $5,000 ask of the museum. So, well worthwhile.
Thank you. Councillor?
Yeah. I was a school bus driver for 17 years, and I think about every year I brought some students to the museum, and every year I would learn it's not just the Yarmouth town, it's the tri-counties, I guess I would say, or not the tri-counties, the 3 munis. Yeah. Anyways, there's history there of of every place around Yarmouth County here. It's unbelievable. It's like I said, every year I would learn something new. There's a stagecoach there that was used from Tuscot to Yarmouth, and you know, even find out who was the driver or whatever you want to call it, and the shotgun and everything else, you know. Just like being out west. But anyways, I think that's a place that we support 100%, or I do. Thank you.
Was there any further discussion on that motion? Hearing none then, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded, motion carried. Thank you. Number 6, thank you letter to Irving Oil. What is the, go ahead, Councillor.
I'd just like to say that we're very pleased that the Irving Oil Company has taken down the tanks at Bunkers Island. The view certainly is so much better for people coming in, and for the people who live there, they're very appreciative not to have to look at the rusting tanks. So I'd like to make a motion that a letter be forwarded to Irving Oil to show our appreciation for the removal of the Bunkers Island storage tanks.
It's been moved by Councillor Durkee. Do we have a seconder for that motion? Been moved by Councillor Durkee and been seconded by Councillor LeBlanc. Any further discussion on that motion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. 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 Contrary minded, motion carried. Thank you. Item number 7, letter to the Minister of Health. You have that in your package. What is your wishes? Go ahead, Councillor.
I'd move that the Municipality District of Yarmouth resend the letter to the current Minister of Health outlining our support of radiation services in the Yarmouth area.
Been moved by Councillor Trevor Cunningham. Do we have a seconder on that motion? Been moved by Trevor, seconded by Patty. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded, motion carried. Thank you. Item number 8, airport appointments. Go ahead, Deputy Warden.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I'll make a motion that we appoint you, the Warden, Leland Anthony, as a council representative on the new Yarmouth Area Airport Commission Board, with Councillor Trevor Cunningham serving as the alternate member.
Been moved by Deputy Warden, been seconded by Councillor LeBlanc. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded, motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you again, Mr. Chair. I'm going to make another motion in regards to the same committee. I'm going to move that the Municipality District of Yarmouth agree to appoint Clark Sigurdson and Ron Smith as community representatives for the new Yarmouth International Airport Corporation Board.
Been moved by Deputy Warden, seconded by Councillor LeBlanc. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded, motion carried. And item number 9, CSC building. Go ahead, Councillor.
I'm going to excuse myself from this item,
Okay.
Mr. Chair, and I'll
Okay.
come back after.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Deputy Warden.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I move that we proceed with the lease agreement with the Tri-County School Board for 28 Room Drive.
Been moved by the Deputy Warden. Do we have a seconder? Been seconded by Councillor LeBlanc. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded, motion carried. Thank you very much. That concludes all of the recommendations from the Committee of the Whole. We're going to get to you, Paul. Don't worry. Under new business, item 6.2, letters of support from the town of Kemptville per the Doppler radar system. You had that in your package. There isn't much of I won't say a discussion on that. 6.2.2 will be some discussion. What has surprised myself, and I believe my fellow councillors, is the support for the Doppler radar system to be placed. I know in our discussions, because the municipality of Yarmouth has brought it forward, it keeps falling back that to have the Doppler radar placed in Yarmouth. It's not a necessity that it's placed in Yarmouth. Anywhere within Southwest Nova would be more than adequate, and I mean from Barrington, I'll say around to Digby, to give coverage in this in our Southwest region and so on. That is one thing that all of the responses have come back, supporting the Yarmouth initiative and so on. And I really, my recommendation, and I'll be talking with staff later, doesn't have to be done now, is that we should be sending a letter of thanks for their support. But it's 6.2.2. You have this in your package, letter from the Federal Minister of Environment and Climate Change. You had that in there and you read it. What is your thoughts and your considerations of what the minister has said? I'd like to... Go ahead, Deputy Warden.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. In this letter that the minister said, it says the department's radar network currently has 31 radars strategically situated across Canada. The current contract is to purchase 20 new radars to replace the current aging network with the most modern technology available. It also says in here there's an option in this contract for 13 more radars to replace the 11 remaining radars in the existing network, as well as adding one radar in Lower Athabasca and one radar for training. Nowhere in there does it say Southwest Nova. Nothing at all. It does say in here the expansion of the network, the radar network, is not expected in Nova Scotia. And it does continue on to saying that these new radars will give double the coverage. Well, as we sit now, the current radars actually do miss a very small section of Southwest Nova, which we see on TV whenever they have the radar sweeps that goes around and around. Mm-hmm. The new radars apparently will go over Southwest Nova, but what we're looking for is better forecasting for storms coming up the Atlantic coast, like Hurricane Maria that is currently out there. The one before that, I think it was Hurricane Lee. There's certainly been a lot of activity this year in the storms coming up the Atlantic coast, and even though I'm no radar expert or forecaster or really happen to know anything at all about forecasting, I do believe that any information they can get sooner, if a Doppler radar or a new type Gore radar, which I've seen here, would certainly help them in their forecasting abilities. And I'm actually kind of concerned that we seem to be left out of the loop again. I don't know where council wants to go with this. Maybe we should wait to see if we get more responses throughout the next month or so from different municipalities, because we have sent out the letter asking for support. Maybe what we should do is compile all the letters of support from all the municipalities and send off another letter in a future date stating that we have the support from these, and maybe even get an expert from Environment Canada to come down here and explain to us what are the pros and cons of possibly getting a radar set up here. Because I'm certainly no expert in that field, but any information I can get, I'd certainly like to see. Now, that would be certainly on the wishes of council, whatever they'd like to do, but I'll open up the floor to the rest of you.
Go ahead, Councillor.
I think that's perhaps a good idea to have a representative from Environment Canada come in and discuss some of the technical specifications. We've asked for something and clearly doesn't appear we're going to be getting that something, so maybe it's best to see what the coverage of the new radar will be. I mean, it's a very short letter, but if we add additional detail, that may allow us to advocate more, or it may allow us to advocate for something different. I'm not certain, but I think due diligence sort of would dictate that we have staff contact Environment Canada and see if they can come in and talk to council or in terms of bringing us more up to date about the technology and the coverage, and have them ask some of our questions so that certainly our residents are interested in having answered, and try to move forward on this file. So that is the way forward, I believe.
Was there any further discussion on that? Because I have a couple of comments if council is all through on that discussion. The concern that I've always had after talking with a lot of it's in the lobster fishing industry more than it is in any of the others, but it is important in the ground fish industry and so on. But the municipality of Yarmouth, municipality of Argyle, the municipality of Clare, and not so much in Digby, but also in the municipality of Digby, down through Digby Neck and so on, municipality of Barrington and so on, we're all coastal. The majority of our living is made from the sea. Port Mason fishing industry, Councillor Cushing, Pembroke, Sanford, Sand Beach, Kelly Cove, Wedgeport, Pubney Coves, all the way down through the Cape, you know, Clark's Harbor, etc., and so on. It is not that our fishermen don't have access to weather, they do, but they get it from the American side. And there's a reason why they get it from the American side. At one time, when Doppler radar was, my understanding, was out there, and it's still used today because it is good in that respect, but today the majority of lobster fishermen are not the daily lobster fishermen. They don't go out at 3 in the morning and back home at 5 o'clock at night. A big majority of our lobster fishermen are out there 3, 4, 5 days because of the capability of their boats now with holding tanks. They go out further and so on. And what they want is they want the long range. They do not care what's happening in Yarmouth on Monday when they leave because they can see it. They want to know what the weather possibly would be on Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday of that week. So that's got to be long range. That's got to be long range so they can look down the eastern seaboard and see what's coming. That's why they hook in. But we have the capability. It's just that the federal government, and I hate saying this, the federal government is looking at Southwest Nova as aware and why, and what do you contribute to the rest of Canada. That's the way I feel. I don't think it's right. I don't think, and I don't believe, this is my opinion, I believe that our MP should have a meeting with both ourselves, Argyle, Clare, and so on at the table, stressing to him the importance of that. They tell us they have one in Fredericton, which covers the Bay of Fundy. Great. We are Southwest. We are right out into the Atlantic and part of the Bay of Fundy. I believe it would be a very important piece of infrastructure for us to have somewhere in Southwest Nova to protect our livelihood. And I think the federal government is, in all honesty, is ignoring it. I believe that our counterparts in the government of Nova Scotia should be supporting this also. They have one in Sydney, they have one in Halifax, and they're using the one in Halifax as it covers us, we don't need no more. I think time is up. We are as important as Sydney to Nova Scotia as Halifax is to Nova Scotia, and so on. I think we need this, and I think we should keep pursuing this. I would hope that we can set up a meeting with our MP in the very near future. Even though he has supported it, I think he needs to push it a little harder and so on for this to happen. I'm not saying it needs to be next year, but I think it's something that should be. And I'd like to see the municipality of Yarmouth stick onto this like a dog with a bone. Might take us a few years to get it chewed up, but I think that's what we should do. And so on, and that's my opinion. I see my fellow councillors have some comment. Go ahead, Councillor Durkee.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I believe that we are the most vulnerable community in Canada to the hurricanes and tropical storms that develop in the Atlantic Ocean, and that because of our fishing industry being so important to all across Canada, that we continue to pursue this and take it as far as we can. be relentless.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Councillor Cunningham?
I don't know if there's and just looking at the letter ever more carefully, the letter from the minister states, your member of parliament, Mr. Colin Fraser, has forwarded me a copy of your letter of July 24, 2017, requesting an update municipalities. So simply, the minister responded with an update. Doesn't appear there's a lot of advocacy happening. So I agree with what you're saying. I think that the proper place for this is at our next joint council meeting. We've got Argyle, who's a big player in the fishery. I mean, we've all looked online. We know the coverage doesn't. I shouldn't say we know. We don't believe the coverage extends much offshore, and our fishermen do go way offshore, obviously, and they want better information for safety's sake. And we have a lot of pleasure craft in the area. We have ferry service. So we have a lot of need for this, apparently. So I think that we should invite Mr. Fraser to our next joint council meeting to speak to this issue to all three councils.
Yep.
And we can let him know our feeling on this, that we want strong advocacy, and I think let's get together as a group and ask for this. And I agree that we should be advocating for our folks, ferociously, but I think that's a nice way to start things off by having a conversation there at that
Are
table.
you making that a recommendation or a motion or just a recommendation?
I'll make that a motion that we contact our MP. Yeah.
Okay, okay. We got a mover. We're just going to hold off. The CAO has a comment. Yeah.
Personally, I think you should go one step further. You should do that at your next regional UNSM meeting where you've got Yarmouth, Digby, and Shelburne counties all in there.
Yeah, good point.
Because that is encompassing this whole tip.
Okay.
11 municipal units.
Okay, that's a good point. So I guess what I would ask then of the mover, would you make that your motion?
Absolutely.
Okay. And it's been moved by Councillor Cunningham. Do we have a seconder for? Okay, it's been seconded by Councillor Durkee. There's only one further comment that I want to make, and it's short. If you look down to item number 9, under 8, under new business, Energy East Pipeline. Okay, we'll be talking about that a little later, so having extra weather coverage would be very beneficial. Anyway, we'll go from there. Been moved and seconded. Was there any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded, motion carried. Thank you very much, councillors. I appreciate the support. Ooh, item number 7, 7.1. Grant Thornton, presentation of annual consolidated financial statement as of March 31st, 2017. Paul, you and Chris, thank you very much. You have the floor.
Okay, thank you very much for having us here. So the presentation tonight will be very high level. The financial statements have been reviewed with management, and then subsequently we've gone through the financial statements in detail with your audit committee. So having said that, if we turn to page 1. So page 1 of the financial statements is our independent auditor's report. A couple of things to note from our auditor's report is the first thing is management's responsibility for the financial statements. So as stated here, management is responsible for the preparation and fair presentation of these financial statements in accordance with Canadian public sector accounting standards and for internal controls, etc. So that's spelled out in the auditor's report. The auditor's responsibility, our responsibility is to express an opinion on these financial statements based on our audit. And of course, we have to conduct these in accordance with Canadian generally accepted auditing standards. It speaks a little bit to the type of procedures that we do. And then finally, the opinion. So what we have here is a clean audit opinion or an unqualified audit opinion, which we say, in our opinion, the financial statements present fairly, in all respects, the consolidated financial position of the municipality and the results of its operations, etc. Page 2. Part of public service accounting now requires management as well to report on the financial statement, and this is management's responsibility for financial reporting is spelled out here, which then gets signed off by the municipality of the District of Yarmouth Ward and the Chief Administrative Officer. One thing to note back on the audit opinion, the date of this audit report is September 27th, so these financial statements become official upon the approval of council. And the audit report covers anything that has transpired or anything that's gone on that should be in the financial statements up to that date of September 27th. On page 3, we have our consolidated statement of operations. So at first glance, what we see is this year the municipality had an annual surplus of $1,658,000. We had total revenues of $11,248,000 compared to a budget of $10,242,000. Our expenses totaled $9,638,000 compared to a budget of $10,627,000. One should note that these are consolidated financial statements. So these financial statements have in them the numbers from all of the organizations that the municipality has an ownership interest, such as the Mariners Center and the Industrial Commission, the airport, YASTA, and the Management Association or Management Authority. So looking at these numbers, well, we can see that our taxes, when we look at these taxes, at actual of $6,571,000, a little bit more than the budget at $6,451,000. These amounts that we show as taxes are the taxes that the municipality has to spend, and they're net of the amounts that we would have collected for the school board. The appropriation to the school board of $2,056,000 is not included here, nor is the amount of funds that we've collected for fire rates. So that number is a little bit more than what we budgeted. Services provided to other governments is the amount of money that we've received from the town. That represents 50% of what leisure services was spent on a net basis. Sales of services is up a little bit at $205,000 compared to a budget of $158,000. We actually have a $47,000 windfall here. Right, I guess that's the $47,000 that we got from our wind vanes, etc. So we saw that those were generating some revenue this year. I think the cost that we incurred was like $5,000. We had $47,000 coming in, so that's going in the right direction. Other revenue from own sources, that's mainly, that $783,000 is mainly the revenue that's come in for our portion from waste management and also our recreation events. Unconditional transfers from other governments is pretty much as what we had budgeted, $694 compared to $671. Our conditional transfers we budgeted $586,000. We have $932,000. So we took out of our gas tax revenues about $330,000, which was used to the street lights. So one of the big things that we'll see, the capital expenditures we had last year was the LED street lights, which was a very big project for us. We earned interest of $406,000 during the year. That's in our reserves. That's collected from the taxpayers. That's in our current accounts. We simply are budgeting conservatively on that. Our other revenues, we also see that our other revenues are quite a bit higher than what we budgeted. And we had about a $300,000, $294,000 refund related to the streetlights as well. And so that generated some revenue for us. And that's the bulk of that $414,000. So that really is the main things to point out as far as our revenue of $11,248,000, which was up about $1 million from the prior year. Our expenses don't have a lot as far as fluctuations go. Our general government services, we were down about $100,000 from the prior year and $100,000 below budget. Protective services, we actually saw that we were a little bit below budget. It went up a nominal amount of about $120,000. It did go up about $100,000 or 10%, $120,000 or 10%. Transportation services would comprise both within the municipality and the airport at $1,642,000. We see environmental development services where we budgeted $1,658,000 and we spent $1,116,000, and that would be due to the fact that we had budgeted for the Domtex building demolition to be a lot further ahead than it was in by the end of March of 2017. And then recreation and cultural services, really, which consists of our recreation department and as well the expenses at the Mariner Center, our portion, $1,806,000. So $9.6 million is our actual expenditures, and again, our surplus, $1,658,000. So where did that surplus go? If we turn to page 5 now, page 5 kind of is more of a what happened to our net financial assets statement. And what we can see, so during the year, we actually had a pretty heavy year when it comes to capital assets. We spent $2,331,000 on capital assets last year. The biggest chunk of that was the streetlights. The streetlight expenditure was $1,347,000. The other two large amount was we finished off the wind project for $335,000, and Kelly's Cove Rockville Trail we spent $490,000. So those were the three biggies. Those add up to almost $2.2 million out of that $2,331,000. So we contributed out of our surplus, we contributed that $2.3 million less the amortization of $1.1 million. So about $1.1 million of our surplus went to capital, if you want, and $500,000, the other $500,000 increased our net financial assets. So our net financial assets, which is kind of the bellwether as to how we're doing as a municipality, went from $5,022,000 to $5,569,000. So if we go back to page 4, page 4 gives us our consolidated statement of financial position. So this is the snapshot of the financial position of the municipality of Yarmouth as of March 31st of 2017. In total, we had $11 million, $11,144,000 in unrestricted cash. Out of that cash, if we turn very quickly, there is a breakdown which shows on page 24 how much of that $11 million was actually sitting in our reserves. So page 24 would be the second to the last page. So where we were sitting at the end of March of 2017 in our reserves, we had $4.7 million in our operating reserve, and we had $2.5 million in our capital reserves. So the total amount of monies that we had in our reserves were roughly $7.3 million. So the reserves are fairly healthy. So if we go back to page 4, one of the things that we note, our taxes receivable actually dropped from $762,000 to $739,000. And that's a little bit of encouragement because that's a sign of the times. It means that probably the economy is a little bit better, and the amount of funds that are outstanding to us at the end of March has actually gone down a little bit, which is good to see. Our other receivables went from $1,116,000 to $713,000. Last year we had a large receivable in there for the wind turbines of $474,000. In our financial liabilities, we see one number here which is deferred revenue, which is fairly significant, $1,784,000. If we turn to page 12, note 4 explains to us what that is. So what we see is that a significant part of that is the gas tax monies, the grants that we've been receiving over the years related to gas tax collections by the government. And of course, those funds are specifically earmarked to be spent on environmentally friendly type of expenditures. So we have $1,500,000 sitting there, and there's a continuity there that shows this year we received $484,000. We did spend $1 million of that and recognize some prior gas tax. So there's $1.5 million, which is sitting in a deferred revenue here, which is really a bit of a quasi surplus as well. Right? It's not a liability. It's not something that we're ever going to have to pay back. And then we had another $218,000 sitting in operating revenue, which is funds that we hadn't spent yet on, the largest thing was a rural high-speed internet monies that we received of $75,000 that we had not spent by the end of the year. if we turn the page, because we're going to come to this later, we can see on page 13, note 5, so this is the total debt position that the municipality has. And one of the things that we see here, so our total long-term debt that we had was $2,546,000 at the end of 2016. We did borrow, so we did fund $750,000 of that $1.3 million expenditure for the new streetlights by way of debt. So that's what that new $750,000 debt is. It has to do with the streetlights. Okay. So then back to page 4. The other amount that we see here in the liabilities, other post-employment benefits of $795,000, and those are liabilities that are set up. $359,000 has to do with sick leave amounts that it's a calculation that's done. Those are amounts that are paid to employees that have not used their sick leave when they retire. And there's also service awards of over $400,000, and that's the $795,000 that we see there. So what we see at the end of that is, net financial assets are $5.5 million. We also, as we noted, we've got $1.5 million in deferred revenues for the gas tax. So our financial equity, if you want, I would see it as somewhere around the $7 million mark. Right? So it would seem, it would indicate that the municipality really is in a very sound financial position at the end of March of 2017. The other thing that I would point to is, of course, though, on page 18, one of the things that we probably should note, there is a contingent liability and contractual amount sitting on page 18, which highlights, the large amount, of course, that should be highlighted is the Domtex building demolition. So, the estimated cost of that is $3 million. So the municipality's share of that, of course, is, I believe, 1/3 of that, at $1 million. And that's, of course, as we know, that's in progress and had really moved along not very much at all by the end of March of 2017. So that would be our presentation of the financial statements. I would be pleased to entertain any questions at this point in time, if anybody has anything at all, or any comments.
Is there any comments or concerns from the councillor? Any comments or concerns from staff?
No, I'd just like to comment. I'd like to thank Chris and Paul for coming this evening and doing a very timely, thorough job, we feel. So, thank you. It's been, I hope that it's been as straightforward for you folks as it is for us, because we appreciate the work you guys do, and we think you do a thorough job.
Well, thank you very much.
you.
It's we certainly appreciate the opportunity to be of service. There's no question about that.
Councillor Cunningham?
In addition to thanking our presenters, I'd like to thank our finance staff for working with our auditors to bring this report to fruition. And I think overall it's a good news report. We're in stable financial situation. Having said that, there are some expenditures that we're going to incur, Domtex being the big one moving forward, and there are some expenses that we'll incur over the next number of years, but it's good that we've been able to prepare as a council to meet those expenditures. So I'm pleased with that.
It's always important whenever infrastructure programs come to roost, or the federal and the provincial governments decide that they have some funds that they want to put into infrastructure and assist municipalities. So of course there's always that requirement for the municipalities usually to have their 1/3 or their 25% or whatever it may be to put in there. So it is important to have some reserves set aside. There's no question.
Deputy Warden?
Thank you very much for that report, and you're absolutely right, especially when it comes to there's going to possibly be funding coming down the pipeline, and it just shows that we're in good financial shape to have some funds to put forward towards those, especially when it comes to one thing that's very close and near dear to my heart out in my area is internet and cellular services. We're not sure what that's going to entail yet, but at least we know that we can possibly move forward on some of these projects if they're going to benefit the members of our municipality, that's for sure. And I see no one else's mics are flashing, so I'm going to make a motion to approve the municipality of District of Yarmouth's consolidated financial statements as of March 31st, 2017, as presented by our presenters, Grant Thornton.
We have a mover. Do we have a seconder? Been moved by the Deputy Warden John Cunningham, seconded by Councillor Patty Durkee. Was there any further discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded, motion carried. Thank you. And I believe also we're looking for...
There's another one I have.
Yes. Go ahead, Councillor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I'm also going to make a motion to instruct staff to initiate the transfer of $800,000 from the general operating fund to the operating reserve fund. Said transfer to reflect in the March 31st, 2017 financial fiscal year.
Been moved by the Deputy Warden. Do we have a seconder for that motion? Been moved by the Deputy Warden, seconded by Councillor Trevor Cunningham. Any further discussion? Question being called. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded, motion carried. Thank you. Then one last comment before our presenters go to Paul and to your staff. Thank you very much for your due diligence and so on. But what I'm leading up to is your due diligence is really great. You do a lot of hard work and so on. But I want to take this opportunity to thank the municipal staff, the CAO, Ken Moses, our Director of Finance, Greg Shea, and the rest of my staff, or the municipal staff, from the payroll, accounting clerk, and so on, to our executive secretary, and so on. They do a lot of the groundwork for you folks, and I'm not saying everything is easy for you, but I believe the municipality has a great staff that does great work, which makes your work, I'm not saying easy, but makes it very comfortable for you to come here and so on. And we appreciate everything you do for us. And so on. Good. So, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Item number 8 is new business. 8.1, upcoming events. Go ahead, Councillor Durkee.
First of all, I would like to congratulate the LGBTQ group who put on the Pride Parade, the first for Yarmouth. I think they did a wonderful job, and I was very happy to see how well it was supported. Unfortunately, I couldn't make it that day, but I hope to make it next year. And October 23rd, there is the Jack-o'-lantern Parade being put on by Recreation, starting at 6:30 at the Visitor Information Center at Forest Street, and goes on to Grand. And I'm sure we're going to see some wonderful costumes, and I may surprise you.
Okay, thank you. Is there anybody else that has any events coming up and so on? I have one here, and it's coming up. It was an email that was sent, and I think it's, my name is Mallory, and I am a dietetic intern at Diabetes Canada. November is Diabetes Month, Awareness Month, and November 14th is World Diabetes Day. At Diabetes Canada, we are striving to raise awareness of diabetics and the complications associated. We are focusing on preventing and early detection of type 2 diabetes. We would greatly appreciate your support in these efforts. I have attached the 2017 Diabetes Award Month proclamation for the Nova Scotia region for consideration by your council. And that's, like I say, diabetes is something that is right across Canada, but it's it affects a lot of people and so on. But I just wanted to bring that forward. Fall cleanup is coming, October 6th and 7th, and October 6th and 7th, and October 13th and 14th. For any information, you can get a hold of either Waste Check or the municipality of Yarmouth on the cleanup days or your schedule for cleanup days for that cleanup and so on. I think that is, I believe that is, hold it now. I think there's one more. Yes, I have a note here in, it's addressed to me, but it's from our fellow councillor. In my absence from the council meeting of September 27th, 2017, I would ask that you read my report to the council and to the public and have it placed on file for future reference. On behalf of the residents of District 6 and the other districts of the municipality of Yarmouth, I want to thank the municipality of Yarmouth for funding such important project at the Yarmouth Lighthouse this past summer. I also want to thank Delmar Construction for the undertaking such a complex project and their efforts to work with municipal staff and Friends of Yarmouth Light to keep this valuable tourist attraction in operation throughout the project. No one is denying that at times frustration and not understanding the tremendous scope of this project came to light during this tourist season. But at the end of the day, the project was completed with a few minor finishing touches that need to be done. Municipal staff and Friends of Yarmouth can be proud that our iconic attraction will be in good standing for many years to come for tourists to enjoy, but more importantly, our residents of the municipality can be proud of. Again, thanks to all who have made our historic lighthouse a destination for all to visit and enjoy the spectacular view and display at the Yarmouth Light Station. And of course, I encourage all to visit the fog building display. Respectively yours, Councillor Lauren Cushion, representing District 6. The other thing is, he wanted me to mention, I'll try to get to it, Thursday night at the Pembroke Hall, they have their music and so on. And that's, is it, pardon me? Kitchen party, okay. He wanted that mentioned too in the events, but he asked me to read that. Was there any other events that anybody wishes to comment on or make note of? Okay, at this time we'll move on. 8.2, August Development Report. You have that in your package. What is the wishes of council? Go ahead, Councillor Durkee.
I'll make a motion to approve the development report as presented to council.
Been moved by Councillor Durkee, seconded by Councillor Blom. Is there any further discussion? Okay. Question being called. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded. Motion carried. Item number 3, fall cleanup. I've already mentioned that is October 6th and 7th and 13th and 12th, wasn't it? I got a good memory. Very short. 13th and 14th. I knew I was in there somewhere. 8.4, first reading, Water Upgrade Lending Program Bylaw, W-0102-17. Go ahead, Councillor Durkee.
I would like to make a comment that we have spent a considerable amount of time working on the water supply upgrade lending program bylaw, and thankfully we are ready to bring it to first reading. So we'll need a motion to approve, or do I make that? So I'll make a motion to approve or send the water supply upgrade lending program bylaw W1028-17 to first reading. Second reading, sorry. Thank you.
Second reading. And that would be 0102, not just 102. Did you say 01?
I read it. It's a W1028.
I have it here as W-0102. Is that what it's supposed to be?
I have it correct, I believe.
Okay.
1028.
Okay.
Yeah.
I second that.
Been moved by Councillor Durkee, seconded by Deputy Warden John Cunningham. Councillor, go ahead. You have.
Right, and I'm gonna start off by saying I'm gonna vote in favor of the motion to move it to second reading. However, I would agree with the comment that we did spend a lot of time, staff spent a lot of time talking about this, and it is a good program. But again, I would encourage anybody accessing the program to read it carefully, and I'm sure staff will work with residents who want to participate in the program. I believe it's a maximum of $10,000 that they can be lent for water upgrades, well drilling, those types of things on their property. This water supply upgrade lending program essentially was necessitated by the fact that we had a tremendous water problem last summer. Additionally, some more water supply problems with the residents this summer. So in any event, it's I guess it's council's effort, certainly not guess, it is council's effort to try to mitigate that problem moving forward. But long story short is that there are a lot of provisions in here that protect taxpayers in terms of lending money to individuals, and also there's no guarantee that when you're drilling a well that even if you spend $10,000, no guarantee that you'll have what you hope for in terms of water, because most folks are aware of that. But certainly I would encourage people who are going to make use of the program to use their due diligence, and certainly have extensive conversations with municipal staff. So those would be my comments.
And it's been moved by, as I said, Councillor Durkee, seconded by Deputy Warden. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded. Motion carried. Thank you very much. 8.5, consideration for passage, Volunteer Emergency Service Providers Capital Loan Policy V-108-02. What is the wishes of council? Again, go ahead, Councillor Durkee.
I feel like I'm very busy today. So this policy is intended to provide for a mechanism whereby the municipality makes available capital loans to registered functioning volunteer emergency service providers within the municipality. It is Volunteer Emergency Service Providers Capital Loan Policy, and I believe we have increased the maximum amount that may be borrowed is $250,000, and the minimum amount that may be borrowed is $25,000. So I'd like to make a motion to approve the Volunteer Emergency Service Providers Capital Loan Policy V-108-02.
We have a mover. Do we have a seconder? Been moved by Councillor Durkee, seconded by Councillor LeBlanc. Was there any further discussion on that motion? Go ahead, Deputy Warden.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. As you all know, I'm a first responder in regards to the Carleton Fire Department, and something that a lot of people don't know is our original policy stated that they could borrow an amount up to $150,000. Unfortunately, the sign of the times that pieces of equipment that are out there now, you can't get very much for $150,000, if even half of the piece of equipment. So this policy is intended, we looked at this policy and intended to help out the volunteer fire departments move forward with purchasing some of this very expensive equipment, where some pieces of equipment can go well over $500,000, like a pumper. But also in here, there's provisions to the fire departments to make sure that they're able to undertake the proposed capital commitment that they're looking forward. That includes their debt or I can't spit that word out. Debt equity ratio, their liquidity ratio, debt service ratios, and their purchase and repayment histories, and amongst other things. So that's also, we're just not lending out this money so that people know out there, the public knows that the fire departments or whatever first responder organization, that they have to prove to the municipality financial office that they can take on the commitments that they're putting forward. So I'm certainly in favor of this policy, moving it forward.
Was there any further discussion on that? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded, motion carried. Thank you. 8.6, December's council meeting. If you look at your calendars and so on, and if you realize we usually have 2 meetings, usually the 2nd and 4th Wednesdays of the month. Well, if you look at, I believe it's the 4th Wednesday, and I think that falls on my memory serves me right, on the 27th of December. And I don't think we as councillors wish to be here on the 27th. So we're looking at the possibility, the suggestion has been brought forward, the 13th of December, which is the 2nd Wednesday of the month. It is a morning meeting, and it's usually been the committee of the whole, and we're wondering if council might consider that, making that into a council meeting, so if there's any votes and so on, presentations. So go ahead, councillor.
I'd recommend we move that to an evening meeting, because that's typically where we're here, have our regular council meeting, and that's the expectation of folks. So I agree with that, provided that we move it to the evening session.
I believe, if I may, the CAO has a comment to that.
Staff recommendation would be, as that is the 2nd Wednesday of the month, and typically our morning committee of the whole meeting, that we leave it in the daytime, because we have presentations that we've been trying to squeeze in, and we need to get those in during the day. And it is the 2nd Wednesday, which is typically a morning meeting, and so we'd recommend you leave it as a morning meeting. We won't be able to get the presentations lined up till, I don't know when, if we don't.
So that is the consensus in a council, that we, instead of having a committee of the whole meeting on the 13th in the morning, they will have a full regular council meeting in the morning, and there'll be presentations. It's that way there you can, any motions or anything that needs to be tidied up for December can be, and so on. So that's agreeable. Okay. That's what it'll be. So you can mark that in your calendars for that. 8.7, letter from National Defense, the 84th Independent Field Battery Open House. I mentioned earlier, that is something that's happening this Saturday. If you notice in the letter that you received, it doesn't give a time. So when I called and checked with them, it's from 9 until 3 p.m. And as I stated earlier, the 84th has been very fortunate in bringing back a lot of awards and so on, a very dedicated group. And what might surprise you is you may have noticed that the old military trucks are no longer here, and they have the newer style. And it would be very interesting, because I did have the opportunity to discuss and look at the trucks here earlier. And when you look at them and start asking questions, there is a lot of thought and so on goes into those vehicles. They're not just a troop carrier, they are a complete, very versatile piece of equipment that it can do anything, and it can do just about anything. So it's very interesting, and I think they'll have a lot of good information that we didn't realize and so on, and even in their displays of their artillery and their shooting expertise and so on. So again, if you have that opportunity, please take it. 7.8, grant request from the Yarmouth County Agricultural Society. You have 8.1 and 8.2, which gives you a lot of information and so on. So what is the wishes of the council on this is a grant request that they put every year and so on. So what do you wish to do?
This is actually for next year.
Yes, I'm sorry, it's for next year. So it would be, you know, some organizations are late getting in their grant requests. They're early, so it would be just to move it. Go ahead, Deputy Ward.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I don't know if you need a motion or a recommendation or consensus, but if it needs to be a motion, I'd make the motion that we move this forward to next year's budgetary consultation process.
Okay. Go ahead.
Yeah, this is time sensitive, and what they do is, and we've told them, like, bring this out now, because they have to submit all their provincial and federal grant applications in the fall. And they need our approval. It's basically a pre-approval for next year's event out of next year's budget, but we always pre-approve it in the fall so that they can add that to their application for their federal and provincial funds.
But it comes out of next year, but, yeah, okay. Yeah, okay. Go ahead, Deputy Warden.
So thank you very much, Mr. Chair. We've done this previously over previous councils, so if it's okay with the seconder, I'd like to move that we approve the amount of $500 to the Yarmouth Agricultural Society to come out of the next year's budget for grant contingencies.
Okay, is that all? Okay. It's been moved by Deputy Warden John Cunningham and seconded by Councillor Trevor Cunningham. Was there any further discussion on the motion? Question being called. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded, motion carried. Thank you. Item 8.9, Energy East Pipeline. I've had discussion on this topic and on this letter and so on. I will leave it open for discussion from councillors before I make my comments and so on from the discussion I've had. But your thoughts on this? As you noticed in the letter, the increase in bulk tanker traffic in the Bay of Fundy will increase dramatically, and they're not having any hearings or anything in Nova Scotia because the pipeline does not come through Nova Scotia, but Nova Scotia does through the Bay of Fundy border on our coastline and so on, and down through southwest Nova. So what is any of the councillors' thoughts or concerns on this at this time? Go ahead, Councillor Cunningham.
Well, I think there's a consultative process that's been put in place, and looking forward to hearing from that. And very pleased. I'd like to thank TREPA for forwarding this information to us. It's very informative.
Yeah. Is there any other comments? I think the Deputy Warden can. We'll go from there. We know what your comment. Go ahead, Deputy Warden.
I had one quick comment, and Mr. Chair, you had mentioned before in regards to the Doppler radar, and this also includes quite an extensive increase in traffic in the Bay of Fundy. So weather forecasting, as you had mentioned before, would be of great importance for these large vessels that are carrying millions of gallons of crude oil across a very sensitive ecology and protected area. We already know that there's new speed limits enacted in the Bay of Fundy for shipping traffic, and this is certainly going to increase the amount of ships out there. I'll be the first to admit I have not been up to speed on what's exactly happening with the pipeline, but I'm sort of unclear on what they're asking for. It says here on number 11, update on September 7th, 2017, TransCanada requested a 30-day suspension of review. We are awaiting the NEB's decision on this request on how it could impact the project review moving forward. In the meantime, it would be best to continue through with the application to participate in the process to ensure TREPA's concerns are heard. So is TREPA requesting that they get to make a presentation to the board or to the NEB?
Let the CAO answer that. Go ahead, Ken. You have a...
My understanding is that they're not applying for full intervenor status. That's very detailed. What they are applying for is the ability to submit presentation or a document regarding this issue. So as a commenter, I guess, is the term, not an intervener. Maybe we should be thanking TREPA for taking this on behalf of and addressing some of these concerns on behalf of the area, and indicate that we certainly support them in their efforts to to pursue this, to get answers,
Yeah, thank you.
or something to that nature, I'm not sure.
Yeah, thank you very much for that, Ken. I also think that we should include a concern that the warden brought up as well in regards to the lack of the ability for Environment Canada to adequately forecast the storms that are coming up the coast. I think that should be included in a point that should be made with the increased shipping traffic, because obviously there's quite a risk, and with storms that are so unpredictable nowadays, it would only be prudent.
Thank you. Councillor Cunningham?
So I'll move that the Municipality District of Yarmouth write TREPA a letter thanking them for the information they provided us and supporting them in their efforts to, you know, bring to light some of the issues that are of concern around the Energy East pipeline. And additionally, I would move that that letter include a description of our concern around the lack of Doppler radar coverage in our maritime environment, and the risk that additional tanker traffic could bring, especially in light of lack of potential lack of adequate weather forecasting.
Could I ask then to the mover, and I guess I'll direct it through to my to the CAO. Would this be prudent for us to also send this to our MLA and to the Minister of Environment of Nova Scotia? I mean, just I know they're aware of but that this municipal unit is
Relates to the Doppler radar again, so.
Yeah. So would the mover consider doing that? And you know, and even if you wished, would we consider the MP? That, you know, I mean, it's, would that be, or just info? Okay. Okay. Just gives us okay. It's been moved by Councillor Trevor Cunningham and seconded by Deputy Warden John Cunningham. I want to thank you very much for looking at it in that respect. But when you get a chance this evening or tomorrow, when you read a little more in depth on that letter, there is two types of oil. Down in the Gulf of Mexico, when they had their oil spill, it's what they call a light oil, and it floats on top. If you read in this one here, and you have the opportunity to talk with TREPA, it is a heavy oil. It is not refined like they do down in Texas and so on when they had the oil spills. This oil sinks. Oil on the top disperses, and it's not easy to maintain or get rid of, but it disperses and so on with chemical agents. This oil will sink. And in the sinking process, it would be sinking in the Bay of Fundy. And in that respect, a lot of your species that are there, it would harm them more, or worse, I should say, than the light oil and so on. So there is, when you get home and you read it, you get a really good understanding, and you probably have read it, but read there in depth and so on. You have the opportunity to check with John Solos and so on, or with TREPA. Yeah. Because the pipeline basically doesn't come through Nova Scotia, we're not part of, but we are, and I think you'll probably find that the Fisheries Association will get a little more involved later on, but sometimes not. Anyway, there's been a mover and a seconder to the motion. Hearing no further discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded, motion carried. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. 8.10, finalized date of meeting with the MLA. And would I be right in saying, is it October? I seen you had a poll out today. Yes, how many did you get back so far? Okay, and that was, I don't have my, yes, I have my phone. Was that for the 20th of October? 23rd, okay. And I think I put down, at this time, I can make either one of those, and I put that on the poll. And I think Councillor Gerard, you put that you could make both. Councillor Cunningham could make the 23rd and, yeah, okay, yeah, you would put the 23rd. 23rd, and but if you would fill out the poll, guys, does that make it easier for you? Okay. Okay. Then the 23rd?
We need to book it. So
Okay.
so we can get it.
Okay.
I don't have to wait long.
Okay. Okay. So the consensus, there's 5 of us here, the 23rd it is. And it's at 9 o'clock or 9:30? 9:30. 9:30 on the 23rd. Go ahead, Deputy Ward.
Could you please repeat the time? Was it 9:30 to 10:30 that we said?
I think so.
Did we not request that he stay a little extra time? Because the last couple meetings that we've had with him, I felt a little bit rushed.
Go ahead.
If I could, Daniel did say he spoke to them and he was quite proud that he got an hour and a half out of them, and then they changed it back on us.
Yeah,
And they're very firm on the change back.
Is
So
it
he lost
possible
it.
that we could find like even a half an hour before? Because I really do believe we need that extra half hour. I find it's very rushed. Like if you have 4 or 5 different topics and there's quite a concern on those, I don't find that there's enough time.
Well, then I guess I'll ask, it's not.
I'm happy to get the hour, and I want to make that clear. I'm happy to get the hour, but every time we get the hour, there always seems to be, you get through the first couple subjects, and there seems to be a little bit of discussion back and forth, and all of a sudden you got 2 or 3 items left with 10 minutes. Stay focused. I understand that, but
It's all according to how the questions and, yeah.
because there's a lot of things that we talk about here amongst council, like capital priorities, different projects, the airport, and there's all kinds of things. Energy East pipeline, Golden Forest situation that we've been dealing with for years. I know that we can't dictate his schedule, but I would accept the schedule, but also get at that time maybe, or when you send out that we accept, or it's going to be the 23rd, that we are requesting that we already schedule another meeting for an hour and a half at a future date, whether it's 2 months or down the road. And that's what I'd like to see. I'm happy to get the hour, but I want another confirmed time with an hour and a half. So that maybe some of the concerns that we bring to him, give him 2 or 3 months, and then we could ask you, well, how did you make out on that? I'm trying to be more proactive, to try to get the ball moving rather than pushing a ball or a big beach ball up a hill. I'd at least like to be on a level ground, or at least going the other way, to keep on top of some of these things.
I fully understand, because an hour in the political world is not very much time when you sit down and you bring up a topic and you start discussing it, and you have input from 3 or 4 councillors and from the presenter, or the one you're asking questions about. Boy, 20 minutes can be gone so real quick. Half hour can be gone real quick. So yeah, as the CAO said, we're gonna have to be very focused, have just pointed questions and hammering hard on those and go from there. But I do like your thought that we should be requesting real soon another meeting with him and so on. He's our MLA and he should be readily available to us. He should be. So we go from there, John. We have that hour. Let's accept that and move forward, and maybe that can be a very quick topic on there that we'd like to have another meeting set up with more time. And so, yeah, you see. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and he can answer yes or no. There's a quick answer to that one in there, yeah. So, okay, 23rd, 9:30 in the morning here at the municipal office, or his office? Here? Well, you should check that out, because if he's having a meeting in his office, instead of him having to drive all the way up, we all go there. Yeah, you see? We get 15 minutes. We get 15 minutes out of me. Okay, we're fine with that one. 8.11, live stream. Councillor Durkee, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. Of late, I have been watching the municipality of the District of Argyll on Facebook live stream. when they have their council meetings. And I can go online at any time and watch the town of Yarmouth on the computer to see, to watch their council meetings. So keeping with the other local councils and the idea of being more transparent, I think it's really important to our constituents to be able to regularly have access to our council meetings and activities. So I would like to make a motion to actually direct staff to look into making our council meetings live, or at least recorded via Eastlink so that people can watch them online, or using live Facebook so that people can see what's going on when we have our meetings. In addition, I had noticed there was an email that came across that that Eastlink was going to change the time of our showing of our meetings to 9:30 twice a week after our meetings, which is getting late. So it would be nice if people could hear what's going on at any time.
Okay, thank you. Deputy Warden?
I'll second that motion and for discussion. I certainly agree in regards to transparency. I got no problem with the cameras live on me. I guess it's something that I've gotten used to over the years. I'll never forget the first time I sat here. First time I went up the microphone, I froze. That said, what concerns me in this digital age, and I'm going to parallel this subject to internet service. Not everybody has access to internet service. And just be so well aware. We are currently working to try to alleviate that concern. I do believe that a lot of people that do not have service would like to have access to this, and they don't even have access to cable television as well. But I do support this motion 100%, that any time that we can find an avenue to get the message out on time or at a regular time, which we have regularly scheduled meetings at 7 o'clock. Someone after supper might be sitting down there at home behind their computer and relaxing. And hey, they're on live. I totally agree in that regards, but I just wanted to make the point that not everybody has internet access.
So it's been moved by Councillor Durkee, seconded by Deputy Warden John Cunningham. Was there any further discussions or concerns at this time? Okay, before we go to a vote, I fully understand live streaming and computers and so on, and I know what we have now for capability and so on. So I guess turning it over, and that was part of your motion, staff is going to have to do some investigating. Could our capabilities at this time, or you don't pull it out of thin air, so what do we have to do? Or
No, and I actually have, when I saw this item, Councillor Durkee hadn't come in and talked about it, but I did flip something off to our IT guy to ask, okay, what exactly is it we're doing? Like, what we've done is, I guess, with the budget that we had to work with at the time, have implemented a very simple system, which originally was recording the meetings and then sending the disc off to Eastlink to reproduce. We since, I believe we upload it somewhere. Yeah, we do. So the only difference is, I guess it's not live. To make that live, I think would be an investment in, a fair investment in equipment. But again, we can investigate that to see what it would be. I just didn't realize this, it's coming up till I saw it on the agenda. But it will be, it's an equipment issue, I think, and maybe some licensing issues.
Okay, well, that's fine. If I may, Councillor Durkee, I'll turn your mic on because you're going to have to answer me. You said that your understanding was that Eastlink is going to be after 9:30 when you said 9:30, I thought, 9:30 in the morning, that's early, but it's not 9:30 in the morning that you're... Okay, well, I'll turn you on. Okay, you've answered my question. That's what I thought. That's late to be.
That's late. We have a lot of seniors in our community, and not just seniors. I'm getting there, and to sit and watch a council meeting at 9:30 p.m. It would surely put everybody to sleep. So.
Please don't say that. Don't say that.
But you know, in terms of equipment, etc., it's pretty easy to do Facebook Live. All you need is a cell phone and a place to record it. So if you go online, you can see how Argyle does it, and it's great because then you can hear exactly what's going on at the time it's happening. So.
Yeah, again, it's a technical question, and I'll leave that to our IT guy. And I think they probably use more than a cell phone.
Well, if we're going to do it, let's do it up
Yeah.
in a proper form and so on. That I know it.
The other point I wanted to make is with respect to Eastlink, in reality, they're probably not, our council meeting is not one of their most viewed programs, as most other council meetings. So I think what you're seeing them do is adjusting their schedule to put more popular programs on at an earlier time. And I guess that's just part of their business, and I doubt we can influence that too much.
Well, the motion is to report. Anyway, we're going to be in a go forward position onto it and so on, and we'll, if you wish, okay, we're going to look into it and so on. And do you want a report back in like next month or no? Yeah.
What would be required to
Yeah.
do a live?
Okay. Okay. That was your motion anyway, right? Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Yep. Okay. Okay. Question being called. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded. Motion carried. Okay. Item number 9 is reports from committee reports. Was there any of those committee reports that anybody wishes to comment on or have questions on? Any of those? I will make a comment basically on the Yarmouth Area Industrial Commission and so on. For those of us that have had the opportunity to up and down Water Street, you have seen the slow demolition of the old Domtex building and so on, and it's coming down slowly. Hopefully, be down in the very near future. But other than that, if there's anything else, no comments. And I don't think there was everything that was in camera we satisfied in our regular meeting, did we not? No. Which one? Oh, right, okay. Our in-camera recommendations on those low income and so on. What is the wishes of council? We need a couple of motions. I had that right up here, right here. And that is do you have? Go ahead, Councillor.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the requests for low-income exemptions for assessment account number 1490028, assessment account 3791742, and assessment account 3590488.
We have a mover. Do we have a seconder for that motion? Been seconded by Councillor LeBlanc. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded. Motion carried. Thank you. And there was one other. It's not for. Where is it? Do you have the? Go ahead, Councillor.
I'll move that the municipality of District of Yarmouth approve requests for reduction in taxes due to fire as per our policy. The two account numbers in question are number 8474044.
Yes.
The other account is number 1399632.
Okay.
I second that.
It's been moved by Councillor Trevor Cunningham, seconded by Deputy Warden John Cunningham. Any further discussion? Hearing none, question being called. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded, motion carried. And those were the two. Thank you very much. Was there any further business of council? Motion to adjourn. Thank you very much.